to my studio. I'm Susan Giannantonio, and I have been painting with some friends. Yesterday we got together at the Watercolor Art Society Houston and had such a wonderful time. I'm going to drop in some photos here and show you what we did. Each person was challenged to take a look at their favorite or one of their favorite artists from history or contemporary, and we challenged ourselves to pull out a reference photo of our own and paint it in the style of our beloved artists. So there were people who came and they tried Frida Kahlo, Picasso, Klimt, a whole variety of painters. You know, it was an interesting challenge because it sounded like a lot of fun until we started preparing a day or two prior to getting together, and we all realized that this was not just a simple challenge. We had to investigate what was special about these artists and, you know, how they approached their work. And it got a little tough, you know. It was not an easy thing to figure out what materials we could use to get close to the product that they produced. And, you know, we had to investigate what was really special about those artists. So, you know, we all really enjoyed doing this together, but we worked pretty hard yesterday. And a few people, you know, kind of grumbled and groaned because this was not what they were used to painting. So they got a little bit out of their comfort zone. So take a look, and here are a few of my friends who I painted with yesterday. Now this was my start that I painted. I really loved the artist Ann Redpath, and to be honest with you, I had a hard time choosing what artist to try to paint like, but I love Ann Redpath's work, and even still, once I got to painting, I didn't keep my painting quite as high key as a lot of her work. I'll show you some of her paintings that really inspire me, and then I'll show you the one that I started, but I still have a ways to go with this. So I may work on this here a little bit later in the video. I'll show you some ideas of where I'd like to go with this painting now that I started it yesterday. Anne was a Scottish painter who lived from 1895 to 1965, and her work has a lot of background texture that she has created through the buildup of layers. She also paints very high key. And this was my start yesterday afternoon, pulling from a photo of my own orchids, but it has a way to go. So this is a photo that I used to refer, and I have decided to make some attempts at editing this. I'm changing the shape and adding a little bit of width to that front pot, but it's just not quite doing it for me. So I'm stamping some circles, and that's really not doing it for me. So I'm going to trace the shape of the pot and see if I can find a piece of collage paper that might work in that shape, and collage some of my jelly print paper on top of this pot just to add some visual interest. So I have my shape here. I wanted a little bit more oval shape. And I'm auditioning. I pulled out a few pieces of jelly print. These would all kind of go, but some of them had a little too much going on. I really liked the metallic on this piece, and I liked the shade of blue. So I'm going to cut out my shape here for my pot out of this jelly print page that I did some time ago. And I'm going to glue that on. I kind of like that. To me, it doesn't attract too much attention, but it has lots of visual interest, and I like it better than the white pot that I had put there. As you can see, I made a few edits to this before I started the video rolling. So I'm going to drop in here just for a second where I started with this painting. So as you can see, I took shadows away. I added sort of a lattice bit to the back pot. Now I'm using a liner, a fine liner, to add some whites and some black Posca pen to add some lines. I'll talk in a little bit about that fine liner. That will be in my tools section at the end. It's an interesting piece of equipment. I decided to make my leaves a little bit more substantial and three-dimensional. Adding some darks and some lights to those leaves. This painting is a little bit dull, especially the dark areas that I painted the day before. Once they've dried, the depth of color is missing until I varnish. Varnish is going to really add some depth to this. Also, right now the painting is at an angle where there's a little bit of glare. The light is catching it oddly, so I'll fix that in a minute so the camera can pick it up a little better. I continue to add, here's a little bit of burnt sienna in the root areas. I wanted some burnt sienna to create those interesting roots that come out of the pot of an orchid. So I'll build some of those. Mixing a little gray with them, that is to say, mixing a little blue to make it gray. Variety of values. Sort of sculpting those roots a little bit as they come out of the pot. These little tweaks really add interest to the painting. None of them are terribly important, but they do add some interest. I'm still tweaking the leaves a little bit, referring back and forth to my resource photo. I've kind of let go of Ann Redpath's paintings because I'm developing darker colors than a lot of her paintings had. Although she did have some bright colors in her floral arrangements. Just tweaking, adding some bright lines in here. It moves the eye around when you continue to add visual interest. I'm adding more layers of magenta And certainly when I varnish this, it will bring out these bright colors. The darker the color, the more it kind of dies away when it dries until you varnish acrylics. And they do dry darker than when you paint them. I decided this petal needed to overlap the leaf instead of creating a tangent with the leaf. I think that works better when the magenta petal comes down over that leaf. And just popping in a little bit of color on the inside of those white orchids. I'm assessing, trying to decide if that's a finished painting. Just a little bit more something over here. I decided to put just a little bit of color inside these pale orchids on the left, just to keep the eye moving. And it's time to sign it. This painting is on a piece of masonite, and I've signed it. And I saw one more thing I wanted to do, just a little petal of orchid that I thought maybe would bring the eye back down into the painting again. And now we will audition this painting with a frame. It probably won't remain in this frame, but I grabbed a frame that my father built and I just wanted to put it on top to see if it seems finished, and I think it is. Finally today, I want to just show you my Fineline Applicator bottle, which I filled myself. I have several of these. I have black one, a gold one, a white one. You can put any color of fluid acrylic in one of these. They're available on Amazon, Fineline Applicator. They're available at your favorite art supply store. And I use these, you probably just saw me use them as I went with my white liner around my irises a little bit earlier. But I want to show you how these work. They unscrew, and they have this needle applicator, and they have in the lid, they have this needle that goes down through this applicator that keeps it clean in between uses. So I can refill it, I can use it, and then I want to make sure that I put the lid on. And this is what it does. It creates a nice line, calligraphy, if you like that type of thing in your work. And you don't, I mean, you can work with this and soften some edges if you want. You don't have to keep the lines thin, but anyway, it's an interesting tool. And it's very difficult to make that really fine line with a brush. So it's an easy tool to use. And you, like I said before, you want to make sure that you put the little needle back into that nozzle and slide it in and tighten it. And the next time you need this tool, it will be just like new. It will not clog as long as you put that needle in there. So thank you for watching. I enjoyed visiting with you today, and I hope you will subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends if you feel they would enjoy it. And if you hit that little bell at the bottom of your screen, YouTube will remind you to look at my new videos. It will inform you by email that I have a new video up. So take care, and I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.